Well, here we go. So welcome everybody. And we are, I guess, just going live on Facebook right now. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We're really excited here today to have a webinar that we're going to be talking about marketing for the new normal. And for just a couple of minutes, everybody, I'll share my screen just so that you can have an idea of some of the things that we want to discuss today. And we're also going to take a moment to introduce our guest and ensure that she gets a great introduction. And so here we go. We'll just put our screen up and so welcome. My name's Abe Brown. I'm with Axe IT Consulting, and I'm joined here by Ross from Systema Solutions. And we have a very special guest who we'll introduce in just a moment. Of course, today what we want to talk about is marketing for a new normal. And of course, you know, this webinar is going to be recorded. It will be available on the Systema Solutions and Axe IT Consulting's YouTube channel. And so please do check those out. And at any time, if you're watching on Facebook Live or on the webinar itself, please feel free to pop a question into the chat window or a comment, and we'll make sure that we hear from a lot of people today, because that's a huge part of how we learn. So today what we're going to talk about is what it looks like to market using a bit of a new normal. And also we're going to talk about marketing strategies. You know, COVID has changed a lot of things. I think it's not only changed our lives and changed our economy, but in some senses, the traditional strategies aren't necessarily working the way that they always did. And so we need to lean in, and there is almost no more important area of your business than marketing. In other words, how are we going to generate cash, right? Because without cash, we're not really going to have a business for long. And so, you know, we're really excited about, you know, our guest today, you know, and so Ross, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
For sure. Yeah, actually, I've had the pleasure of working with our guest professionally. I've also shared a couple of pints here and there as time went on in different circles of friends that we sort of ran into each other. But I certainly gained a lot talking with our guest today. So our guest is a senior learning advisor, transformative leader, and change manager, is currently an executive coach at the Collaborative Change Coach, Miss Karen Sadler. So welcome, Karen.
Wow, I feel like there should be trumpets and fanfare here. That's a lot of excitement. I'm just a coach. So thanks for having me here today. I know we're going to be talking a bit about marketing. And for me, marketing really goes down to brand. So when I come from a coaching perspective or a leadership perspective, I'm really going to be coming from that perspective today. So thanks for having me here.
Excellent, no doubt, looking forward to it. But maybe before we start getting to a lot of the marketing, maybe just tell us a little bit about Collaborative Change Coach, how it all started, and sort of what business are you in?
Okay, well, so as you said in the introduction, my background is in learning and development. So started as a special education teacher, actually. And so that speaks to my passion for diversity and inclusion, as well as understanding how people, and not just children, but people in general, learn. So I've been a learning advisor in oil and gas. I worked with the police. I've worked in settlement and integration, helping newcomers integrate into Canadian society. And in all of that, really those leadership skills and having organizations that are healthy and welcoming really have become at the crux of the work that I do. And so I have a whole team with me that I've managed to gather along my travels in this work. And so I lead a team of really amazing women who are leaders and in their own right, and also bring all kinds of passion and wisdom around leadership in organizations and keeping organizations healthy. And some of that we'll see throughout the conversation today, I hope, how that's also connected to the marketing that we do today.
Right, no doubt. Well, so we've got a lot of small and medium-sized business people on the calls today that are hopefully listening in and looking to learn something. So how has your company been helping small and medium-sized businesses?
So we do all kinds of work, whether it be, like I said, in diversity and inclusion or in business strategy. Most of that is around aligning leadership and their communication out and internally. So communication is such a huge part of business, and marketing kind of falls into that umbrella. It's much easier to market an authentic and trustworthy message when your internal house is in order. So really being able to build that foundation with leadership in the organizational structures and processes helps them to be able to message externally in a way that really presents their organizations in a good light so that people want to do business with them.
So what does that mean in practice? You know, if I'm a small or medium-sized business owner, you know, hearing you say that, and it absolutely makes sense, but at the ground level, what could that look like?
So, you know, I came, as I said, from a teaching background, and I often find leadership at the C-suite level are a lot like parents. You know, there's some of my employees or my kids need some help. Could you fix them, please? And the work really needs to start at the top. So when you say ground level, that's often where leadership asks us to start as coaches or facilitators. But ultimately, the work needs to be done at the top first, because if leadership's not aligned with who they know they are and what their purpose is, then it's really confusing as it goes down the pipe, or if it goes out into the public sphere where we're trying to communicate what do we do and what's it all for.
That makes
So,
sense.
yeah.
In your experience working with small and medium-sized businesses, how do you think marketing has changed in the recent times, you know, with COVID happening and just the changes with that?
So I think we were seeing even before COVID a real move towards this sort of authentic marketing. Our times have changed. We're no longer looking for the expert sage on the stage to tell us what we need and what's wrong with us and what we need to buy. We're actually wanting to be a part of the dialogue. We're wanting to be a part of the conversation. And so people in social media are really our greatest advocates when it comes to marketing, making sure that we have a meaningful message that people want to pass on and have conversations about among themselves. So even though COVID has changed some things, I think what it's done is really highlighted the idea that people want somebody trustworthy that they can hear and believe in the message that they're passing on, and also that it's a worthwhile cause. They don't just want to be marketed at, they want to be part of creating the brand and part of endorsing the brand. So I think after COVID, we've all sort of spent time in reflective mode. We've been stuck in our homes, or things have shifted from underneath us, where we've really been reflecting about what's important to us. So that authentic marketing, I think, is just even more important now than it has been coming up to this moment.
So then when we talk about marketing pre-COVID versus, you know, I guess we're still mid-COVID and potentially looking forward, what are some practical strategies that you find have been working well for small and medium-sized businesses?
Well, I think it's the term agility has been really kind of overused, and people are tired of hearing it. You have to be agile, you have to be responsive, but I think that's just a time, that's the way things are. We can't come in with our own agenda, and we can't come in with our own solution without knowing what the client is needing and where they are at the moment. So I think small businesses and medium businesses are really having to shift to understand what is it that the customer or the client or the stakeholder is asking for and needing. And those real values around what's most important right now is important. Back to sort of family values and what really is resonating with people. So I think marketing, the messages that are out there have to help people connect and feel connected to whoever is trying to connect or speak with them.
And maybe that kind of answers maybe my thoughts are on the next question. You know, I was just thinking around product and pricing. I hear that it's you know, things have obviously gotten more difficult. And so people are much, they're engaging in, they're looking for that price or looking for that product, and they're less willing to, let's say, spend some more. How do we get creative? How do we have relevant offers?
So I think, we've seen all kinds of stories around organizations pivoting. We've got gin being turned into hand sanitizer and price gouging and toilet paper,
Yes,
all those things.
we've all witnessed that for sure.
Yeah, so I think, it's ethical behavior. It's being able to be responsive and really listening to what people are asking for. So, hand sanitizer was in high demand. So, we had lots of local distilleries starting to say, well, if that's what's in demand, then that's how we need to shift. I think having that information is important. And when, I can pass that over to you, Ross, even to speak to what Systema offers when it comes to knowing where people are where you're getting the hits, where you're getting the information, and being able to have that compiled for you in a way that makes it easy for you to respond as a business.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've had a lot of internal conversations about, we've had companies that are looking to do business with us that have obviously held off because of financial restraints on what's happened to them. And then we've had other companies that have slowed down a little bit, and then the engaging of the conversation has been a little bit different. It's more about the service side and about helping them versus the dollars and cents of it all. And so it's been an interesting situation for our company in regards to what's going on. And maybe it isn't a different message. We still do the exact same things. What we do hasn't changed, but it is a little bit of the message. We're trying to help people as well. And now it seems like some people have had time to slow down and even think about that a little bit more of, I probably do need to progress my company, whether it be marketing, whether it be technology, to move forward. So that's a great point.
Mm-hmm. And I think you see that, in times of trouble, especially when we're being asked to social distance or physically distance from each other, our instinct as people is to come together and help each other. And so we saw all kinds of philanthropic behavior coming out of business that was so refreshing. And yet, in order to be sustainable, you can't give it all away for free. You do need to find a balance between offering something that's meaningful and of value to people. And as you say, like service can go a long way, especially when an organization is having difficulty, leaving them some space for being able to pay what needs to be paid. Also, adjusting sort of pricing schemes can be helpful. But then keeping in mind as a business that it needs to be managed, the communication around that needs to be managed so that people know that this is temporary, that when things are better, we're going to need to even things out for business as well. I know with Systema, a lot of people were taking this downtime, organizations were taking this downtime to be able to build the infrastructure that they needed in order to be up and ready for when the market starts to open again. So
for sure.
Maybe you could even speak to some of that.
We've absolutely seen that in regards to sometimes companies are so busy that they don't have time to slow down and think about technology changes or advancements. They're just, they're just getting by every day. Small to medium-sized business owners are already putting in 12-hour shifts just to get things done. And so leaves them in a spot where they don't want to think about, let's say, technology changes. It's like, oh man, I don't have time to think about that. I need to get the job done for today. So we have seen a little bit of that happen where it's actually been a little bit of a pause for them to think about and go, I don't want to work that hard. How can I change that? And so that's certainly where people our companies have reached out to us.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, as far as marketing goes, that goes a long way, for people to be passing on the message of the way that you've been supporting them or businesses that they know, that social media endorsement is authentic marketing. That's when people are really appreciating what it is that you're doing for them. They're seeing the heart of the organization out there, and they're not seeing the company just as out there just to make money. They're out there to make a difference in the world and to help people. And that brand goes a really long way in today's climate, for sure.
It's awesome. So what do you see when we talk about, businesses that have taken advantage of this opportunity, through COVID, as crazy as that language even sounds, it's actually true. And so what are a couple of examples of things that we need to put in place in order to prepare as we move into a sort of a post-COVID environment?
Well, I think technology comes up as an obvious one there. Here we are, we're not sitting around a table talking to each other. We're all having to connect online. We're all having to depend on technology to keep us connected. That's the first thing that comes to mind, is that every organization in this climate is going to need to be supporting either their employees to work from home, or the connection to customers or to stakeholders has moved very much into an online environment. So being able to navigate that swiftly is really important in these times. At the same time, to speak to your terminology of taking advantage, we did, as I said, with price gouging and so on, we did see some of that going on, and it was very quickly corrected by social pressure to not take advantage in a sort of a self-serving way, but to have an opportunity, or to see the opportunity that's coming up to create business, but also to support people as they're going through difficult times.
That was a good point about, I think it was social media helped change some behaviors in a lot of ways, right? Companies that were gouging, social media almost corrected that.
Absolutely. I think we're in a time of consciousness at the moment that we've seen stock prices of companies where CEOs or spokespeople have made comments that in a sensitive time are, quickly corrected. We saw CrossFit, for instance, come off the market quite quickly because of comments that were made. And we see that on a daily basis. And, as an optimist, I see that as a good thing. We're out there, we're not allowing that kind of messaging to go on. We are really monitoring the messaging that we're willing to listen to. And I think that's why organizations really have to have a brand that says we are not just in it for ourselves, we're really in it for service and to help other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then, and you've shared so many great points today. So, I know that you're passionate about marketing, and that's a huge focus of our call today. So how, marketing is a funny thing, because from the perspective of the person spending money on it, you can always wonder, like, how do I measure ROI? For the dollars that I'm spending, and even the talent and the time component that I'm putting into this. What are the ways that a person could look back and say, okay, yeah, it made sense to make that investment?
So, if I speak to my own organization, we're young, we're a small company ourselves. And so we're in the position of really being front facing with our clients. So we're able to ask, we're able to watch the social media on LinkedIn to see what people are responding to. We're able to look at the conversations to see what the sentiment is around certain topics. We can see things like Zoom fatigue and understand that people don't just want to listen to another talking head. They want to be involved in the dialogue. So making sure that we're responding to what we're hearing through the social media that we're tracking. That's what we're doing. I can't speak to larger organizations as much, but maybe Ross has something to add there.
Well, that's a good question from Abe, and exactly, I think it's all something that we kind of battle with, is what's the right efforts, where do you put the efforts, and how do you discover the return on investment, and yeah, I can't speak of it as being an expert on the topic myself, but I think it is sort of a lot what you talked about, is I'm in a service industry, and the service comes first, and a lot of it is just making sure that we're getting our message across of the success we have and the referrals that we get. And I mean, that's really what our business has been, more about referrals than our advertising. But we want to do a better job of getting our name out there and explaining our story of how we can help customers and help our businesses. And And it's not, and again, it's not about helping, just specifically the business make money. We believe that the technology we have actually helps the business and the people's in their lives. They can actually work more efficiently and therefore potentially either don't have to work as hard to get the same earnings. So sort of the way we think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think in the past we had a lot of sort of paid, you think about paid marketing and then earned marketing. And I think there's so much more to be had, or so much more to be gained in earned marketing. And that earned marketing is when your reputation sort of precedes itself by the things and the ways that others are talking about you. You don't have as much validity in speaking to yourself. It's almost like if you think of an organization as a person, if I stand up and tell you all about how great I am, people are going to walk away pretty quickly. But if you're engaged in a dialogue and you can add value to that dialogue, then people are willing to participate. And I think, ROI is really return on investment. How do you spend your dollars wisely? I think you spend your dollars wisely in making sure that what you say and the way you behave line up.
What touch points would you sort of recommend? I mean, obviously there's online social media, online events. Is there some that are more appropriate than others to get branding across?
Well, and again, I suppose it depends on the size of your business and who are your audience. So who are the stakeholders? Where are your stakeholders gathering? What are they listening to? Who do they admire? So those are some of the ways that you can connect with listeners or with stakeholders. Just thinking about what are they needing and what are they saying in their groups of conversations and in their dialogue. So I think we really need to be tuned in to who is our audience and what are they talking about? What's important to them? Any kind of social media, whether it be, for me, it's mainly in LinkedIn. For others are using Facebook. Any others for bigger organizations that you can speak to, because I'm truly not engaged at those levels at this point.
So that's, yeah, and that's, I mean, even that alone speaks to the fact that people need so much more than a templated, marketing plan. They really have to be strategic and think about, who's my customer, and where would I be best to put my efforts. So, this has been awesome, Karen. I mean, honestly, when we talk about alignment and leadership and ensuring that we're communicating in a way that's congruent, and in terms of overall marketing, do you have any final tips that you could share with us here today?
Final tips? No, I think really making sure that your leadership has a really good, strong sense of what it is that they're offering, kind of make the world a better place, and to be able to walk the talk. And to be able to demonstrate that added value to society at this point is really the big piece of marketing, I think, that gets missed, and which after COVID is even more resonating with stakeholders and the social conscience that's being moved at the moment. Anyone that's not transparent in their intentions will be sniffed out pretty quickly. So I think it's really about aligning your messaging and your behavior in the public sphere, because you'll be called out on it if it's not in alignment.
For sure, definitely, as we've seen. So today's topic was marketing, Karen, and you obviously coach a variety of different things. If someone's interested in getting coaching, what does that look like? How do they get started? How do they get a hold of you?
So I'm active on LinkedIn. They can message me on LinkedIn, or they can go to the website, collaborativechangecoach.com, and there's a way to contact through that. Really, the journey is about finding out what your ideal future looks like, what it is that you're working on, what are your pain points. And at that point, we come in and do a bit of a needs analysis to find out where is the quick win, where can we start? Often it's best to start at the C-suite level, because that's where the big message needs to be, and that's where the alignment starts. We can also do team coaching, or we do one-on-one, because often the things you say in coaching sessions, you don't want to say out, you don't want to say out loud to your peers or to your family. There are thoughts that are in your head that sometimes you haven't even verbalized. So the coaching relationship is really a special one, in that you have somebody that's on your team that's helping you process, that's not going to share your story and allow you to work things through so that you truly can step into the work in an authentic place or in an authentic way. So we start that work at the top, and then we move into team building. So we do team coaching, individual coaching, and just try to meet whoever needs to make the change where they're at and give them the support they need and the resources they need to be able to do that.
Oh, Abe, I think you're on.
Yeah, no, well, that's so good, Karen, and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today and your insight. And so, if you're on the call today and you're looking for a business coach, you're looking for somebody to work with you, then as Karen said, please check out her website, collaborativechangecoach.com, or you can find her on LinkedIn. As you would know, we have been doing this Small Business Essentials webinar series. We've had some fabulous guests. We've all been learning lots. We're really interested in focused on small business and medium-sized businesses, because you know what, that's actually about 97% employment right across Canada, and in Calgary that number is slightly higher, and Alberta, and of course we have listeners outside of those areas. But it's just such a vital cog in the overall machine of the economy and understanding how to operate it. And so, this is a partnership between Systema Solutions and XIT Consulting. And so I'll just ask Ross to tell us a little bit about Systema, and then I'll share about Axe, and then we'll draw this to a close.
Yeah, as far as Systema Solutions, you can see there's some offerings that we have there, but I think it can be simplified a little bit. We simply help people in small and medium-sized businesses leverage the power of technology to create the business that lets them thrive both personally and professionally. There's a lot of detail to that. We do ERP software, but in essence, we're going to provide technology that'll make things easier for you.
That's great. And, they do such great work. XIT Consulting, I'm not the IT guy, that's for sure. It's my wife's company, and I'm supporting her. And so she's building an incredible team of folks. We're primarily focused on cybersecurity. Just the other day, the Canada Revenue Agency had a major data breach. And so this just tells you that small, medium, large business, enterprise level, you got to pay attention to cybersecurity. Unfortunately, there's some bad actors out there, even through COVID. Also, business continuity and disaster recovery, because your business is your information. If you can't manage your information, it's going to be tough for you to manage your business. And of course, the bigger picture on managed services. So feel free to reach out and stay in touch with us, because we'll be offering another one of these webinars soon. And for the last word, maybe Karen, we'll just turn it over to you. Any final nuggets of wisdom?
Well, I think the best part of working together is working with great people. And I know, having worked with you, Abe, and with Systema, that we're all in good company. So I think among us all, we're out there doing good in the world, and I'm really glad to be a part of it. So thanks so much today for having me.
Love that.
Great.
It really is about helping people, eh? And I know, Ross, you guys feel the same way, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, well, thanks everybody. And for sure, we'll tune in to our next episode, and can't wait for that. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, and bye.
Take care.